Hi guys, Wheelie here, and this is my Climbing Vine Slouchy. It is a combination of a ribbed band that folds over to create a really cozy warm beanie around your ears and a simple bean stitch and half double crochet pattern. It is a match for my absolute favorite infinity scarf, which I named the Climbing Vines Infinity Scarf after the vine of bean stitches that runs up the scarf, matching the bean stitch pattern on this hat. I'm loving being all matchy-matchy. I made one of the very early test versions in this green yarn, which matches my all-time favorite green scarf. So I'm set. The slouchy that I make with you in the video is for my sister-in-law. My mum and another one of my friends were just a little too slow off the mark, so I have a couple of orders to fill in this pattern as well. I really hope you enjoy the video. If you are saving this one for later, can you remember to click like and maybe subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see some more patterns and other crochet fun. This is a DK yarn pattern. I'm using this gorgeous colour, which is called Mallard. I also have a pair of scissors. I've got a needle here, which is stuck into my little sheep. And of course, I have a crochet hook. I'm using a 4mm hook, which is what the yarn label recommends. You might need a different size hook if you find you need to adjust the fit of the beanie, but I'll explain that when we get to that point in the pattern. Put a slip knot on your hook and start by chaining 84. The pattern multiple for this slouchy is 7, which is quite a large pattern multiple for a slouchy. It's a big jump between sizes. So I'll get you to start by chaining 84, then you can test the fit. Hopefully it will fit you perfectly, but if it doesn't, I'll make some suggestions for how you can adjust the size. Here's my chain of 84. Make sure you have the chain smooth side up the whole way around, no twists, and bring the first chain with a knot at the end of it up to meet the working end. Insert the hook down into the first chain, just here, catching one loop of it. I have 2 loops on my hook, the working loop and 1 loop of the chain, and I'm going to slip stitch to join the ends. Yarn over and pull through both loops. I'd like you to stop here and make sure this circle fits your head. When my mum puts the chain around her head, you can see that she positions it over her ears and across her forehead. This is where the chain will be on the finished slouchy, at the bottom of the folded over bit of ribbing. The chain isn't tight against her head. When we work into the chain, it will lose a bit of length, so you definitely don't want it to be tight at this stage. But you don't need to have as much slack as my mum has. Here's the finished slouchy. It's a generous fit on my mum, but it looks adorable on her. The slouchy is designed to be really soft and comfortable, and while it looks good quite loose, like on my mum, have a look at it from the side so you can admire the slouch. It's also flattering when it's a bit more fitted. It's a forgiving design in terms of fit. And this is me, and this is the same chain. My head is a little bigger even without my hair. Make sure you have a bit of stretch. The chain sits against my head, but I can stretch it away. As long as you can do that, I think you'll be fine. And I think this slouchy looks great on both my mum and on me. It's a really flattering style. I hope that this will give you the confidence to judge whether you're on the right path for a slouchy that fits well. But what do you do if your chain circle is not the right size? The best way to address that is to make your chain again using a different hook. If your circle is too small, try using a 4.5mm hook or even a 5mm hook. I sometimes work with DK yarn with up to a 5mm hook, and I don't find that the end result is too loose. It gives a lovely softness to the finished material. But use your discretion. If you think your yarn is a little on the thinner side and your slouchy is starting to look like a mesh bag, don't do it. If you're going down a hook size, I wouldn't go down to anything smaller than a 3.5mm. Even then, use caution. Small hooks can result in really stiff fabric, and even if the slouchy looks gorgeous, you probably want it to be comfortable too. If this chain is much too big, this may not be the right slouchy for you. If you want to make the slouchy for a child, send me a message. I am working on a similar pattern for children. There are definitely other ways to alter the pattern to make it bigger or smaller, but you'd need to be a confident crocheter, able to adjust things like the decreases when the slouchy is shaped at the top. Feel free to message me if you do want to try it and you need a hand. Hopefully you now have a circle of chain that fits your head, so let's start making the ribbing by chaining 14. Once you have your chain of 14, we're going to single crochet down the chain, and to do that, count back 2 chains from the hook. So don't count the loop of yarn that's on your hook, count 1 chain, 2 chains, insert your hook into that second chain, catch 1 loop of it like this, yarn over and pull through the chain to pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through both loops to finish the first single crochet. Do another one with you. Insert your hook into the chain, catching 1 loop of the chain, yarn over and pull through the chain to pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. Pause the video while you keep on single crocheting. Put 1 single crochet in each chain. When you have 13 single crochets, you'll be back to the circle of chain. Turn the video back on and I'll meet you there. When you have your 13 single crochets, you'll have a little strip of single crochets, which is the beginning of the ribbing. Now we need to attach this little strip of single crochets back to the circle of chain. To do that, we're going to slip stitch. So identify the stitch with the slip stitch join that created the circle. And slip stitches, when you create a circle, they sort of create a funny looking stitch that's split in half. Make sure you are not getting confused and thinking that this side of it here, this sort of little V that's underneath that slip stitch, is a separate chain. This whole area between my thumbs counts as 1 stitch, even though it looks kind of like 2 or maybe 1.5. So avoid that whole area. We're going to slip stitch into the first chain to the left of it, the first empty chain. So insert your hook into that chain. You only need to catch 1 loop of it. Yarn over and pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through the one on your hook to slip stitch. And then slip stitch for a second time. Insert your hook into the next chain, again working into just 1 loop of the chain. We're going to work into this circle of chain again later, and I think it ends up looking better when you only work into 1 loop when you slip stitch. So now what we're going to do is work back up this ribbing, and to do that, chain 1 and turn your work over. So we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into each single crochet along this strip, but we're going to do 12 back loop single crochets and 1 normal single crochet. We're going to start with the back loop single crochets. To find where the first stitch goes, look at your work from the top so you can see the V's. Don't count the loop on your hook, count back the V's. 1, 2, 3, and work into the 4th V from your hook. So for a normal single crochet, I'd insert my hook under that V, catching 2 loops of it. For a back loop single crochet, I insert my hook into the V, into the middle of it, and take it out into the back, catching just the 1 loop. Then I yarn over and pull up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2 for a back loop single crochet. And that's what's going to create the nice ridged effect of the ribbing. So again, there is the V. I insert my hook into the middle of it and take it into the back of my work, catching just 1 loop of it, yarn over and pull up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2. I'll leave you to work the back loop single crochets. When you have 12 of them, turn the video back on and I'll meet you to work the 13th single crochet. And that final single crochet along this strip is going to be a normal single crochet under 2 loops. And now we've finished working our way up the strip. So chain 1 and turn your work, and we'll head back down. And heading down the strip, we follow the same pattern but in reverse. So we're going to start with a single crochet under 2 loops. To find where to work your first single crochet, if you have difficulty finding it, it is just this one here. You can look at your work from the top and count back the V's. Don't count the loop on your hook. Count 1, 2 V's and work into the second V. We're working under 2 loops of it and working a single crochet. And from here, you're going to work 12 back loop single crochets, which will take you back down to the chain. I find it really helpful to count when I'm working ribbing. I find it is very easy to lose a stitch at the bottom as you're working your way back down. I'll leave you to back loop single crochet your way back down this strip. So the 13th one goes here, and it does look a little bit sort of squished and funny. So if you've counted, you won't miss it. Fantastic. Once you have 13 single crochets, one of which is a normal single crochet, the other 12 a back loop, you'll have worked your way all the way down the ribbing, and you should be able to see the ribbing effect starting to happen. There's the sort of indent there, and then there's the ridge. Now we need to slip stitch to join this back up to our band. So to do that, identify the last stitch you slip stitched into, which is this area here, which has a little sort of gaping stitch, and in the first empty chain, work your first slip stitch. Remember, you only need to catch one loop of the chain, and then slip stitch for a second time into the next chain. And then once you've joined that up, you can chain one, turn, and head back up the ribbing. Counting back from your hook to find the spot you start working the ribbing, don't count the loop on your hook, count the V's. 1, 2, 3, and into the fourth you work your first of 12 back loop single crochets. So I'll leave you to do them. I'll meet you when you're near the top of the ribbing again. When you have 12 back loop single crochets, it's time to work the 13th single crochet, which is under 2 loops. And again, I think this is an area where you could risk dropping a stitch or accidentally adding another one if you weren't counting. There. So I finished working my way back up the ribbing. It's time to chain one, turn, and head back down. Starting by working a normal single crochet under 2 loops. If I want to count back and find the stitch, I don't count the loop on my hook, I count the V's, 1 and 2, and I work into the second V with a normal single crochet under 2 loops. Now work 12 back loop single crochets to get yourself back down here to the chain, and I'll meet you there. So I have 13 single crochets, the first of which is under both loops, and then they're all back loop single crochets, which is creating this nice ridged effect. And I need to join it back to the chain, and to do that I'm going to slip stitch. I insert my hook down into the chain, catching one loop of it, yarn over and pull through, and then pull that loop through the working loop, and slip stitch for a second time into the next chain along as well. Fantastic. So it really is just repetition from here. I'm going to leave you to work the ribbing, and I'll meet you when you're nearing the end of this circle of chain. Start to head back up the ribbing by chaining one and turning your work. Find where to place the first of the 12 back loop single crochets by counting back from the hook. 1 V, 2, 3, and work into the 4th V. Pause the video while you keep working your way up the ribbing and back down again. I'll put pattern instructions up on the pause screen for you. Turn the video back on when the ribbing is nearly done, and I'll show you where to place the final slip stitch and how to join the ribbing together. You'll know you're nearly finished the ribbing when you work your way down, and it's time to slip stitch twice, but there is only one free space to slip stitch into. This spot here is the first empty chain. This next one along is actually the slip stitch join from the chain that we turned into a circle, and it's from this spot that our chain of 14 that started the ribbing off comes from. So this spot here already has something in it, and that's how you know you're pretty much done. So to finish off this ribbing, we are going to slip stitch twice, the first time into that first empty chain, and the second time into this slip stitch join that we started the chain from. So all I'm going to do is put my hook into this side of it. So down into it, the same as we have with the other stitches. And then chain one. And turn, and we're going to head back up this in exactly the same way we've been working all the rest of the ribbing, counting back 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th I'm working my first of the 12 back loop single crochets. I'll meet you at the top of the ribbing when you've done all 12 back loop single crochets and the normal single crochet. So I've worked my way up the ribbing for the final time. Now it's time to join this up. So chain 1 and turn, but instead of single crocheting down the ribbing, we're going to slip stitch down it, joining up to the other side as we go. So probably the only tricky thing about this is making sure your stitches are properly lined up. If you have trouble finding the 13th chain on this side, you can start counting down here and count your way up. So start with this first vertical piece of yarn here. That is 1, that's 2, 3, 4, and so on, all the way up to number 13. So to start off this slip stitching, insert your hook under the V at the top of the single crochet you just made, and then insert your hook under 2 loops of the chain on the other side. It's chain number 13, yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook to slip stitch. And we're going to do 12 more slip stitches, but for the next 12 slip stitches, we're not going to be working under both loops of the single crochets. We're only going to be going into the back loop. So just like when we were doing the back loop single crochet, except we're doing back loop slip stitching. So insert your hook down into the V and come out catching just the back loop of it. We are going to try and catch 2 loops of the chain though. While my hands are crocheting away, I'll ask you a favour. Could you click the like button please and let me know that you found the video useful? And if you do enjoy my videos, subscribe to Wheelie Made It so that we can share a little bit of crochet fun together. And the 13th one is a little bit hidden, so get your hook down into it. Oh, it's disappeared. There you go. "13 slip stitches have joined that up really nicely. That's the band done, so it's time to start the bean stitch pattern. Turn your work so the seam we just created is vertical. It also needs to be on the outside of your work, facing you. When you wear the slouchy, you'll fold this ribbing up. This slightly neater looking side of the seam will be on the outside and the slip stitches will be hidden under the fold. To start working in the round into the circle of chain, I need to get my working loop up to the chain. To do that, I need you to find your tail and find the knot from the slip knot you began with, which is here. Insert the hook into the chain just to the left of that little knot. That's the chain that I slip stitched to when I turned the starting chain into a circle. So I've caught 2 loops of it and oops, before I can slip stitch, I've got to get my yarn to the right side of the hook. Okay, now I can slip stitch. I'm in the right spot now, so I can start round 1. We'll be working in half double crochet, so chain 1 to get up to height. That chain 1 does not count as a stitch at any point in the pattern. We're going to put 1 half double crochet into each chain, so that will be 84 half double crochets. I've yarned over. Insert the hook into the same chain you slip stitched into, but this time just catch 1 loop of it. There are 2 loops on my hook plus 1 loop from the chain. Yarn over and pull up a loop. 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops to finish the half double crochet. Let's do that again. Yarn over, insert the hook and catch 1 loop of the chain. There are 2 loops on the hook and 1 loop from the chain. Yarn over and pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Keep putting 1 half double crochet in each chain until you have 84 half double crochets and no empty chains left. I'll meet you at the end of the round to slip stitch with you and start the second round. I have 84 half double crochets, so to finish the round I need to slip stitch to the first half double crochet. So here is my first half double crochet, which means this V here is the top of it. Slip your hook in under 2 loops of the V, yarn over and pull through the stitch, and then pull through the loop on your hook to slip stitch. And we can head into the next round, which is where we start the bean stitch pattern. chain 1 to get up to height. Work your first half double crochet in the very first spot. So that chain 1 was just to get us up to height. It doesn't count as a stitch. And a second half double crochet in the next stitch along. Chain 1, skip 1, and we're going to work our first bean stitch. To bean stitch in this pattern, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, pull it up reasonably high, yarn over, insert your hook for a second time and pull up another loop. There are now 4 loops on the hook, yarn over, insert your hook for a third time and pull up a loop. There are now 6 loops on the hook, yarn over and insert your hook for a fourth time and pull up a loop. There are now 8 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 8 loops. So that is a bean stitch in this pattern. Bean stitches in other patterns you'll find might get you to yarn over for a different number of times, but 4 yarn overs for this one. Now chain 1, skip the next stitch and work 1 half double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So far, we've started with 2 half double crochets, then we chained 1 and skipped 1, then we've got our first bean stitch, chained 1 and skipped 1, now we've got 4 half double crochets. So we're going to start the pattern again by chaining 1, skipping 1 and working a bean stitch. So to bean stitch, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, insert your hook for a second time and pull up a loop. There are 4 loops on the hook, yarn over and insert your hook for a third time and pull up a loop. There are 6 loops on the hook, yarn over, insert your hook for a fourth time and pull up a loop. There are 8 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 8. If you have difficulty getting through all 8 at once, you can go through a few at a time. And it can help to hold on to this bit at the bottom of the stitch and kind of give yourself a little bit of tension. And then you'll find you can get through all of those more easily. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, and you're going to work 1 half double crochet in each stitch for 4 stitches. And then we're starting the pattern again with a bean stitch. So chain 1, skip the next stitch and bean stitch in the one after. When you've got 8 loops of yarn on your hook, yarn over and pull through to finish the bean stitch. Then chain 1, skip the next stitch and put 1 half double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. And that is our repeating pattern. It is a chain 1, a bean stitch, a chain 1 and 4 half double crochets, and you just keep repeating that: chain 1 bean stitch, chain 1 4 half double crochets all the way around. I'll get you to pause the video here and switch it back on when you're nearing the end of the round so I can show you what to do next. I have 1, 2, 3 empty stitches. It's time to finish the round. We started the round with 2 half double crochets. We're going to finish it with 2 half double crochets. I've worked my bean stitch and I've chained 1. I'm going to skip 1 and work 1 half double crochet in the next, and the second half double crochet in the stitch after that. Don't put a stitch in this little gap. This is the top of the slip stitch join from the round below. You don't traditionally work into the top of the slip stitch. The slip stitch and the first stitch, the spot we put the first half double crochet of the round, counts as one stitch space. If you work in both of them, you'll increase your stitch count. When you slip stitch, the gap closes up. So slip stitch to the first half double crochet to finish the second round. And I'll give you a quick look at this round to check that you're on track. So the whole way around, you should have a bean stitch with a chain 1 space on either side of it, and then you should have 4 half double crochets between each bean stitch, chain 1, bean stitch, chain 1, and you're both finishing and ending the round with 2 half double crochets. So those 2 half double crochets together make a group of 4 and continue the pattern. So if you've ended with 2 half double crochets, your pattern should be on track. And then we can head into the next round of this repeating pattern. So we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. I know it's not traditional to turn when you're working in the round, but turning each round is what's going to create the lovely sort of wriggle effect of these bean stitches moving up the beanie. So we've chained 1 to get up to height, and we're going to start with 2 half double crochets, but this first spot, what looks like the first spot here, is actually the top of our slip stitch, and we're not going to work into the top of the slip stitch. We're going to work into the first actual stitch. So if you want to look at your work from the top down, don't count the loop on your hook. Count back 1, that's the slip stitch in 2, and that is the top of your first actual stitch, and that's where we're going to work our first stitch. And just like the last round, we're starting with 1 half double crochet in each of the first 2 stitches. And then we'll get into the repeating pattern. So chain 1, skip 1, and work your bean stitch. And your bean stitches are always going to be worked just to the left of the bean stitch in the round below. Chain 1, skip 1, and work 1 half double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. Have a look. You can just start to see that vine effect from the bean stitches now. It'll look even better as the beanie builds up. For the rest of round 3, keep repeating that pattern of stitches. Before you pause the video, have a quick look at how nice the vine of bean stitches is looking when I've worked up a little more of round 3. Switch the video back on when you're nearing the end of round 3, and I will walk you through finishing this round and starting a new one. I've done my final bean stitch and I've chained 1. I have 3 empty spaces left. All 3 of these are actually spaces. Remember at the start of the round, I got you to skip the slip stitch from the round below and work the first stitch of the round into the top of an actual stitch. Because we turn the beanie each round, the slip stitch from the round below is always going to be at the beginning of the round. So whenever you finish one of these bean stitch rounds, you'll have 3 proper stitch spaces, so we can finish the round easily. Skip a stitch and then work a half double crochet into each of the last 2 spaces. Then slip stitch to the top of the first half double crochet of the round. This is my first half double crochet here. This is the V at the top of it. Insert the hook under the V and slip stitch. And that is round 3 finished. Rounds 4 through to 19 are exactly the same as round 3. The pattern instructions are up on the screen now. Pause the video here and I'll meet you when you're ready to start round 20, and we'll start shaping the top of the slouchy. At the end of round 19, you'll have 18 rounds of the bean stitch pattern. I've folded over my ribbing and I recommend you do the same. It helps you to keep track of whether you're working on the right side or the wrong side of the beanie, and makes it a little easier to handle as the slouchy gets bigger. If you'd like a slouchier beanie, you can add more rounds of the bean stitch pattern, but please add them in pairs to make sure the ribbing is facing the right way when you finish the slouchy. Let's start shaping the top of the slouchy. For round 20, you begin by chaining 1 and turning. We're going to start changing up the bean stitch pattern a bit this round. Instead of having 4 half double crochets between each bean stitch, we're going to have 2 half double crochets and a half double crochet decrease. We're going to begin the round sticking to the old familiar pattern though, with 2 half double crochets, a chain 1 and a bean stitch as normal, and then we'll get into the decrease pattern. So as with all the other rounds, don't work here, work your first stitch here, or if you'd rather count back from your hook, count back 1, 2 and work into the third V along with your first half double crochet. Then another half double crochet in the next spot. Then chain 1, skip 1 and put your first bean stitch in the usual spot, just to the left of the bean stitch in the round below. Then chain 1, skip 1 and work a half double crochet, and then over the next 2 stitches we'll work the first half double crochet decrease. Yarn over, insert your hook, there are 2 loops on the hook and the top of that first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. There are 3 loops on the hook. Insert your hook into the next stitch along, yarn over and pull up a loop. There are now 4 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 4 stitches. Now in the next stitch, work a normal half double crochet. Then chain 1, skip 1 and work a bean stitch. And chain 1. So between our 2 bean stitches, rather than having a chain, 4 half double crochets, a chain and a bean stitch, we've got a chain, 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet decrease, and then another normal half double crochet. Let's do that together again before I leave you to it. So I've already chained 1, I'm going to skip 1 and work my first normal half double crochet. After the normal half double crochet, I'm going to work a half double crochet decrease spread out over these 2 stitches. So yarn over, insert the hook into the first stitch, got 2 loops on the hook and the top of that first stitch, yarn over and pull through the stitch to pull up a loop. There are 3 loops on the hook, insert the hook into the next stitch along. There are now 3 loops on the hook plus the top of that next stitch, yarn over and pull up another loop. There are now 4 loops on the hook and you can see that I'm connected to 2 stitches in the round below. Yarn over and pull through all 4 loops to finish off the half double crochet decrease. Now we're going to put a normal half double crochet into the next stitch. Now chain 1, skip 1 and work a bean stitch. And chain 1. So that's the pattern for this round. Bean stitch, chain 1, half double crochet decrease, half double crochet, chain 1. Keep repeating that until you're back at the beginning. I'll get you to pause the video here and switch it back on when you're ready to finish the round. I've worked my final bean stitch of the round, my 12th bean stitch, and I've chained 1. And you can see I have 3 spaces left. So I'm going to skip 1 as usual after the bean stitch. And then over the last 2 stitches, I'm going to work my final half double crochet decrease because we started the round with 2 half double crochets. And between each bean stitch for this round, we've got 2 half double crochets and a half double crochet decrease. So they are arranged a little bit differently for this one, but we're going to end the round with a half double crochet decrease. and then slip stitch to your first half double crochet to finish the round. Chain 1 and turn. We're facing the inside now, facing the wrong side. And for round 21, it's another decrease round. And for this round, between each of our bean stitches, we're going to have 1 half double crochet and 1 half double crochet decrease. So we're going to start the round with a half double crochet. In the first stitch, so this is the top of the slip stitch, this is the first stitch, half double crochet in there, then chain 1, skip 1 and work your first bean stitch just to the left of the bean stitch in the round below as usual. And then chain 1 and we'll start the new pattern. Skip 1 and half double crochet, and then half double crochet decrease over the next 2 stitches. Chain 1, skip 1 and bean stitch. And chain 1. So that's a pattern we're going to follow for the rest of the round. Bean stitch, chain 1, half double crochet decrease, chain 1, and then back to bean stitch. So I'll leave you to work your way around the circle. I'll meet you as you're nearing the end to show you where you place your last couple of stitches, and then we can head into the next round together. I've worked my last bean stitch, my 12th bean stitch, and I've chained 1. There are 3 spaces remaining, so skip 1 as usual and work a half double crochet decrease over those last 2 spots. Then slip stitch to the first half double crochet, and then we can start round 22. Chain 1 and turn. So for this round we're decreasing again, and we're just going to have 1 half double crochet decrease between each of the bean stitches. We're going to fudge it a little bit with this first area by putting a normal half double crochet into the first stitch. So as usual, we're skipping this one and we're working into the first stitch here. So if you look at the top and count back, not counting the loop on your hook, it's 1V, 2V, and you're working a half double crochet into the third V. Now chain 1, skip 1 and work your first bean stitch just to the left of the bean stitch in the round below. Chain 1, skip 1, we're going to work a half double crochet decrease over the next 2. Chain 1, skip 1 and bean stitch. Chain 1. Between each bean stitch, I now have a chain 1, skip 1, a half double crochet decrease, and another chain 1, skip 1. That's the pattern I'd like you to follow for the rest of round 22. Pause the video here and switch it back on when you're ready to finish the round. I've got a bean stitch and a chain, and I've got 2 empty spaces, but for this round I'm going to actually skip both of them and slip stitch to my first half double crochet to finish the round. So at the end of this round you'll still have 12 bean stitches, but between each bean stitch you'll now just have 1 half double crochet decrease, except in the case of this first spot that's separated by the seam, where you'll just have a normal half double crochet and an extra skip stitch, but that skip stitch will just sort of disappear into the pattern. After this point we're moving away from the bean stitch pattern. We're still going to be turning every round though, so chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to move into working in half double crochets. We're still going to be working some decreases for most of the rounds, but for this first round of half double crochet we're going to put 1 half double crochet into each stitch in the round below. We are still going to skip this first spot and work into this one. So if you want to count back to find it, don't count the loop on your hook, and I have already yarned over, so that's what that extra bit is. Count back 1, 2, 3 V's and work your first half double crochet into that third V. So I'll get you to pause the video here while you half double crochet your way around, and switch the video back on so we can finish the round together and start the next round. At the end of round 23 you'll have 48 half double crochets. Slip stitch to your first half double crochet to finish off the round. And the hole at the top of your beanie should be starting to close up a bit, so it's going to get interesting filming this, but you should still be able to see what I'm doing, hopefully. I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and we'll start the next round. We're going to go back to working some decreases in this round. So for this round we're going to work 4 half double crochets and then a decrease, and just keep repeating that around the circle. So as we've been doing every round, do not work into the top of the slip stitch, work into the top of the next stitch along. You can count back to the third V and work into the third V if you find that helpful. That's my first half double crochet. 2, 3, and 4. And then work a decrease over the next 2 stitches. So I get you to pause the video here and keep repeating that 4 half double crochets, 1 half double crochet decrease until you're back to the beginning. You'll know you're on track with the pattern when you finish round 24 with a half double crochet decrease over the last 2 spaces. And you should have 40 stitches. Slip stitch to the first half double crochet to finish the round. Chain 1, turn, and start round 25. For round 25 we're going to be working 3 half double crochets and then 1 half double crochet decrease, starting as we have for every round, not in the top of the slip stitch but in the top of the first stitch. So you can count back to find that by counting back 1, 2, 3 V's from the hook and working your first half double crochet there. Second half double crochet, third half double crochet, and then a decrease. So I'll get you to pause the video here and keep repeating that 3 half double crochets, 1 half double crochet decrease all the way around the circle, and I will meet you when you're nearing the end of the round. You'll know you're on track with the pattern when you finish round 25 with a half double crochet decrease spread out over the last 2 spaces. You should have 32 stitches in this round all up. Slip stitch to the first half double crochet to finish the round. Then chain 1 and turn. And we'll head into round 26. For round 26, the pattern we'll be following is 2 half double crochets, then 1 half double crochet decrease. We'll work our first half double crochet in the usual spot, the stitch here. If you need to count back from your hook to find it, count back, not counting the loop on your hook, 1, 2, 3 V's, and work your first half double crochet into that third V. So that's my first half double crochet, then a second half double crochet, and then a half double crochet decrease over the next 2 stitches. So I'll get you to pause the video and keep repeating that all the way around the circle, and turn the video back on and I'll meet you to finish off this round. If you're on track with the pattern, you'll finish with a half double crochet decrease spread over the last 2 spaces. And you'll have 24 stitches in the round. Slip stitch to your first half double crochet to finish the round. Then chain 1 and turn. The gap at the top of your beanie should really be starting to close up now. And we're facing the wrong way. We're going to keep working some decreases this round. Going to work 1 half double crochet and then 1 half double crochet decrease all the way around, starting as usual in this stitch here. So if you want to count back to find it, don't count the loop on your hook, count 1, 2, 3 V's and work into that third V along with your first half double crochet, and then half double crochet decrease over the next 2 stitches. And that is our pattern for this round. So I'll leave you to keep repeating that, and I'll meet you as you're nearing the end of the round. If you're on track, you'll finish round 27 with a half double crochet decrease spread out over the last 2 spaces. You should have 16 stitches in the round. Slip stitch to your first half double crochet to finish the round. Then chain 1, turn, and we can start round 28, which is the final round of the beanie. Hopefully your beanie will be facing the correct way when you're ready to start round 28. So the fold of my ribbing is on the outside. Round 28, we're going to put nothing but half double crochet decreases in. As usual, we're starting in this first stitch here, not in the top of the slip stitch, but we're not starting with a half double crochet, we're starting with a half double crochet decrease. So it's decreases all the way around. Pause the video and switch it back on when you're ready to finish off this round and finish off the slouchy. All going to plan, you'll finish with your 8th half double crochet decrease over the final 2 spaces in the round. Slip stitch to your first half double crochet decrease to finish the final round of the slouchy, and then you can bring out your scissors. Leave yourself a nice long tail. You'll use the tail to sew the top of the slouchy closed. Slip your hook out. I'm not chaining one and tightening it up, I'm pulling out the working loop. And then thread this long tail onto your needle. There isn't anything particularly special about how I sew this circle at the top of the slouchy closed, but I will quickly show you how I like to do it in case that's helpful. Basically, I like to weave in and out through the stitches. I try to go in the same direction through all 8 of the stitches. And when I've gone through all of them, I pull on this tail and that will tighten up the hole. I don't like to do too much sewing because I don't like to leave a bump, but I take the needle through to the inside of the beanie so I can secure the circle closed. Give the tail a firm pull before you start sewing to make sure it's properly closed, and then weave this in like any other tail. I have 3 hints with tails. The first is to explain that weaving in a tail just means to over sew or backstitch with the cut end of yarn. I think that 3 or 4 times is about perfect for it to be secure. My second tip is that if you have a long tail like this one, try to finish with the tail a reasonable distance away from the point you started to sew it in. I'm going to cut this one off a fair way away from the top of the slouchy. That way if a bit of the tail comes out, it's still very unlikely to come unraveled. Third is that when a tail has been properly weaved in, you can cut them really close. You don't need to leave any of the tail poking out. I'll leave you to weave in the other tails from the slouchy. Make sure you do all of them, even the first one which has the slip knot we started with. Then your slouchy will be really secure and it will stand up to washing and heavy wear. I hope you've enjoyed the video and found it useful. If you did, please remember to click that thumbs up button and leave me a message and let me know how you've gone with it. I would love to hear from you. One last thing before you go. Promise me that you will not wear your new slouchy like this. Do this. And then it will sit beautifully. I'll see you next time. Bye.